this webinar is really going to focus on our enterprise Studio Enterprise offering and what increased capabilities it gives the folks that may be using Data Architect Standard or Data Architect Professional. I'm also going to go into a lot of how Studio really helps with your overall data program, and I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle on things today. And instead of really even though I'll show the data architect and bringing in a model, I'm really going to emphasize that kind of top-down approach that really leverages all the other roles that are involved in a data program and allows that inter-team collaboration. So it's really gonna focus on that enterprise type of concept. So we're going to go through to start with the Studio additions and the increasing capabilities that are associated with those, and all about generating that data source knowledge. And then once you have that knowledge, it's great that the architecture team or the data modeling team has that knowledge, but how do you get that knowledge published and get it in use throughout the organization? Of course, with the enterprise modeling and enterprise data modeling, that's really the foundation, the hub, the nexus, if you will, of your data program at an organization. And we'll be showing that Studio web portal. We call it Team Server Core. We'll be showing quite a lot of that today, and maybe some different journeys you could take through it, really to get that idea that, hey, now that architecture team has done a great job of defining, documenting, and describing those data assets, let's get that knowledge out there, get it published so the other teams in the organization can leverage it. And then, of course, with our enterprise offering, you can then leverage your data program, really your model-centric data program with other products on the market, data catalogs and data governance, and I'll show some of that as well. But before we jump into the rest of the webinar here today, my colleague John is going to throw up just a couple poll questions. I know some of you are probably groaning. I swear we won't spend too much time on them. We just have a quick 4 of them, and so please just check the answers for us there. It'd be very much appreciated. So if John, you'd go ahead and take that away for us.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. As Tim said, we won't keep you too long, but it's just really useful for us to understand a little bit more about the platforms that you're using as well. So I've just brought the first poll up. It's just asking if you're really planning to build a data warehouse, and are you looking to use any of the platforms that we're starting to get a lot of feedback on at the moment? So Snowflake, Databricks, Azure, Microsoft SQL, others. Oh, great, got lots of votes coming in. Let's give it a couple more seconds. Last chance to vote, everyone, for this one. Okay, actually, Snowflake and Databricks and Azure are pretty popular here today. Probably not too surprising. Yeah, Snowflake's edging it on that one with last minute rush. Okay, I'm going to close that one. What about very close? 25% Snowflake, 25% Databricks, about 20% Azure, and then the rest split on there. So let me just close that one, and we'll do another one here as well. So this one's actually quite important for us because at the moment, one of the requests we're getting is really around how we integrate data modeling into some of the data catalog solutions. So we started to do that already with your Studio, as Tim will probably explain in a bit more detail. But if you're also using anything like Calibra or Purview or Informatica, Elation, or the others on the screen, again, just a quick click to give us a bit of an indication. Ooh, again, very level actually. Okay, let's give it a few more seconds for everyone. Ooh, interesting. So actually Calibra and Informatica are our kind of leaders here in this poll, followed by Purview. So yeah, probably no big surprises there. Fairly even split again. Got two more, which I'll do really quickly. This one is something that's kind of coming up again and again for us at the moment, and we'll talk a little bit about this a little bit later in the session. And that is, are you currently using Databricks as an environment? And if so, are you using it with the Unity catalog, just Delta Lakes, Microsoft Fabric, perhaps? So main responses currently are around the Unity catalog, Delta Engineer, Microsoft Fabric. Okay, we'll give that one just a few more seconds. And actually, Unity Data Catalog's just pulled, coming up to about 45% of you are responding using the Unity Data Catalog. And to be honest, that's what we hear a lot, certainly in the conversations that I'm having with a lot of our customers and our user base as well. Okay, and a final one, I promise, and then we'll let Tim crack on with his good stuff that he's going to share with us. So, final one really is just a little bit more specific. So this is really for those who are using Databricks. Are you using that on a specific platform? And if so, is that going to be on Azure, AWS, the Google platform, or any others? Okay, so far, vast majority on Azure, which again kind of matches to what I hear when I'm out talking to people. A few more on AWS, a few on cloud, Google Cloud. Yeah, big chunk, 90% or so, 90% plus actually, clicking the Azure box there, which, yeah, that's probably what I'd expect, to be honest. So thank you very much for participating in those. I'm going to close that one down, and I'm going to then hand back to Tim, who's going to take us through the rest of the content.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for participating in that. I know your days are busy, but that's important information for us, so we can help really guide the product in the future. I'm going to jump into the tool, and I'm going to take you through the tool and really kind of see how or show you how all this stuff will all your metadata assets can manifest them, and with the help of an architect or modeler, really become that organizational knowledge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into my VM here, showing you a data architect. It says 20.1. I'm really working with 20.2 here. I got a pre-release here, but it really hasn't changed much. Again, with our 20.2, we're going to have our Databricks platform support. If you'd like to hear more about Databricks and our support there, since I won't be showing too much of that today on Databricks, please contact your sales rep at sales@idea.com. I'd be happy to set up a demo for you and go into that the new features there. So what are we going to do today? Really, as I was thinking about how I was going to give this webinar, I wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit and kind of give you, if you'll allow me, the so what, right? So if I as a modeler, an architect, I do a reverse engineer process. I'm going to do this very quickly. We have videos on this, and we can certainly give separate demos on this, but you're going to see me go through some things very quickly here, just to get a basis for where we're at. And so I'm going to bring in a model from SQL Server, and this might be a typical kind of a scenario that you see. You've probably seen in our demos. I'm going to go to hierarchical layout here, and so we got a little schema in, and I've applied a naming standards template to it. And if you look at our physical model and maybe go to orthogonal there, you can see that we've got both a logical model and a physical model for it. Of course, the physical model is platform dependent. It'll have those those attributes and dimensions and physicalities that are associated with, in this case, SQL Server, where the logical model is held to be platform agnostic. Very important, a very important distinction for ER Studio on the marketplace, that we have a platform agnostic logical model that you can then generate many different physical models for, even across many different platforms with our multi-platform license. And it makes it much, much easier to control different implementations, physical implementations for the various schemas you might have. Uh, what I want to show here today is we show this journey quite a lot in the data architect portion of our webinars and our demonstrations, and bringing in models and working with these to annotate them. And as you work with them, you'll add them to the repository with our, that's the bridge again from your ER Studio Standard Edition to your ER Studio Professional Edition. You'll have that repository. You can go ahead and log in. And so perhaps this is a model we've been working with. I'm going to go ahead and check that out. And because canonical modeling is an iterative process, right? It's not kind of one and done. It's kind of database schemas, are living, breathing kind of entities, if you will, and it's something that the architect and modeler has to kind of keep a grip on, using compare and merge to make sure that your models are in sync with the physical layer, and adding this to the repository so it's really part of your overall ER Studio data dictionary. And you can see I have this model in our repository here in our demo environment, and here it is, the logical model. I have a training sub model here, and we've done some extra work right here. You see, we put some attachments in to say who the data steward is and what its criticality is. I could put PII flags on there. We've added what we call these business data objects to separate this out, maybe graphically or visually show you your different subject areas you might have in much larger schemas. Of course, your title blocks, some text blocks, and really started adding more and more information to that schema we reversed engineered and added to the project to, again, produce that organizational level, business level information about this schema. So I promised you the so what. So imagine you're a modeler, you're an architect sitting there. You got this great model. You know everything there is to know about this this particular data asset. Now you are the subject matter expert on it. But wouldn't it be great if that knowledge that you have could then be published, could be transferred to the other roles within your organization? So let's take that journey now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Team Server. Actually, I should have started this. You're seeing a quick flash of preview there. I'm going to go to the home screen in Team Server. Actually, I'll log out here. Was testing something right before the webinar, and I should have reset my environment. You can see I'm coming into Team Server via a standard web browser here. I have multiple ways to log in. I'm going to go ahead and log in as admin so we can see everything today. But I want to call out here that the web portal is an unlimited use license. Let me say that again so I don't slur the word. Unlimited use. So one license for unlimited users. So you can see we can come in via SSO, single sign-on. We support Microsoft Entra ID. We support OpenID Connect Okta, your Windows domain credentials, ER Studio credentials. Just a plethora of ways to come in and utilize this web browser. So let's go ahead and log in here. And show you. So you got the welcome screen, kind of the same kind of format as you'll see as the welcome page in Data Architect. Don't just gloss over these. If you're coming into the tool new, again, great links into our resource centers and tutorials and that kind of stuff. Very, very valuable resources there to help you really come up to speed quickly on the product. So let's think about this a little bit. What kind of journey do we want to take? Maybe we were one of those other roles. Maybe I'm coming in maybe I'm coming in as a BI developer, or maybe a data steward, or that kind of thing, that kind of role. Maybe just a general dev. I want to know. Maybe I have a dashboard or a report or a stream that I need to create. I want to use the web portal kind of track down. And when we say ER Studio is has a data dictionary, really, if you think about the Webster's dictionary or your language dictionary, you can pick that up, flip to a page, and look up the definition of a word. So let's do that. I'm going to go to terms here. And I'm going to go look up the employee term. You saw our HR model. We've been working with that. So you can see the list of terms here I have. It's done a fuzzy search on employee here. It's this employee and human resources term that I was interested in. Let's click on this. You can see it's opened that term up for us. We can read all about it here. We can get some great information about this term and how it relates to the other terms in its ontology, right? Can see an employee here in the center. It's employed in a job. Departments contain employees, and so on. So all that information is there right from those term and their relationships. I could also look at its relationship within its ontology, right? So you see employee here, party role. This helps you make sure when you said, hey, I'm going to come in and read all about that employee term. Have I got the right term here? So it helps you kind of just in the validation that you've got things connected and you've got them consistently deployed here, such that you can find that employee information and its term definition within its ontology. So you can see it comes up employee to party role to party. We got a couple different parties here. Let's take a look at that top level and look at its children and see its entire breakdown here. You can see across there. We've got, a top level, maybe a party in human resources. Maybe this is party in corporate or what have you, and how that's the entire breakdown works. And so in our continuing our journey, we're looking for that employee information in our data dictionary. We're back on that employee term. Let's look at the objects related to that term across my ER Studio data dictionary. Pretty fascinating display here. I have to control minus here to kind of fit everything in for us. And you can see that employee term has been linked to many different kind of implementations of employee, but the important thing here is its consistency of definition, consistency of description, and consistency of documentation. Their comments, their notes, their definitions, their data types, all the dimensions you can ascribe are consistently deployed across our entire ER Studio data dictionary, and then related up here into this term. And of course, I can then take a look here, and maybe I'm looking for that HR database here, and I could see that there's their HR database model. I can look at that logical model here. Let's take a look at that, and continuing our journey here. See the submodels. There's that training submodel, and I can view that image and see the diagram here. So I always like to say in my demos, it probably dates me a little bit, but gone are the days of plotting ER diagrams out on gigantic plotters and post them down your office hallways. Everything's here is online for you. And again, you could come straight in and browse these diagrams if you know what project you're looking for. And this is much more than a static image, right? So I can click on any object in there. You see it's opening that employee entity. I can read all about it. So I hope you guys are getting kind of the point I'm making here, taking away. Let's do a Control Plus so you might be able to even read that. The big takeaway here is since you've used a model-centric kind of a model-centric design for your data program, and you've used the RStudio to tie those things together, and then you use our enterprise offering to go ahead and publish this out, to get this information out to the rest of your organization. It's just every role within that needs to understand or access data It can come into the web portal, and based upon what journey they want to take, they can get to the asset that they're interested in and read all about it, see what's been defined and documented by that architect, by that modeler, relationships, keys, what attachments it might have on there, who the data steward is, good old Peter Piper, its universal mappings. You can just read all about that, and it truly becomes, if you will, I like to think of it as, it's like that Webster's dictionary, right? I've come in and I've looked up the employee entity, and I got everything that's been captured about that by the organization, and it's at your fingertips right there, like a book is. But it's easier than a book because this is a web page. So the I hope you got that concept, but we even take it a bit further. You'll notice on this employee entity, let's go back to that employee term. I'm going to look at the related terms there. You can see both on the entity and on the term, and I'm going to look at that. We have a couple of links here. You can see open in Calibra, open in Purview. We do support both of them, and if someone happens to have that, a site has to have both of them at once. I have both of them working together, and in fact, we can take Calibra terms into ER Studio and then push those out to Purview. I was just figuring that out the other day. We can be kind of a bridge between those two products as kind of as products in the data space kind of all converge. So let's take a look at that. So we're on our employee term here in the human resources. I'm going to do a right click and open that in a new tab, and you see it's opening up Purview, and hopefully I've got all this set up with my logins and stuff, and Purview's chugging away here, and we're going to be able to open up that term in Purview. Tim says, any performance you're seeing here, I blame on the Microsoft Cloud, not on anything on your studio side. So you see, we've opened up that term. There's a consistent definition. It's over here in Purview. I could open that same term up in Calibra. Depending on the catalog you might be using. Purview is really emerging. On the marketplace, it's going to be in terms of Microsoft's view of Purview, it's come a long way, and it's really going to take a center role to their entire Microsoft Fabric story as we understand it, such that you're going to be able to use Purview as maybe even a storefront for maybe ordering up data products from your architecture team, and that's something that we're able to demo pretty well already from the Microsoft Purview side of things. One of the other journeys you could take within Team Server, I'm going to go back there, is from the ER tool side of things. So if you're coming in, maybe you're more of a data steward type of person or role, or a data governance person. Of course, they would come in with terms and in the glossaries. We have the ability in the ER Studio to really work with glossaries, whether you're working with a data catalog like a Calibra or a Purview already, or you've built up your ER Studio data dictionary. We have the ability to bring in glossaries from a variety of methods to really help you get a leg up and get started on things. It's another big component and feature of our enterprise offering is the fact that we support those business glossaries and their creation and relations right in ER Studio. You don't have to have a data catalog. If you do, hopefully it's Purview or Calibra or one of the other ones we polled you on earlier, and we'll be able to interface with those. But you could do terms and glossaries right here in our enterprise offering. Let's take a look at how you would do that. So I think the best way that I could show you that is, let's go back to ER Tools and let's go to our projects. Let's go to our data catalog. By the way, this hierarchy here you're seeing here can be set up any way you would like. It's done via the project center by an admin in Data Architect. So you can have, I've seen these kind of project trees, very deep, very wide, those kinds of things where you may be broken up by geographical region, the subject area, those kinds of dimensions are easily to just build into your hierarchy here within your repository. Let's take a look at that HR diagram here. This project. Again, you saw me kind of traverse this, go into the logical model. I kind of get flyover help here for the different models that I could see here. Perhaps remember in Data Architect, click on that very fast. Maybe in Data Architect, another facet of this project that the modeler or architect had captured is its data lineage, right? In this case, this training DB, this HR information, we got it from SQL Server. We're porting it over to maybe Snowflake here. You're seeing visual data lineage diagrams here that the modelers worked up with source, transformation, and destination. Again, that's in your project model, and like Data Architect, you can use our macros and that kind of stuff. But since you have the Enterprise Team Edition, you can get to all this from the web portal, and I can go straight in, take a look at that data lineage and its flow right here on the web. So the idea, shipping things off, the SharePoint or web reports or Word reports, and those are all great, but they're stale the second you produce them. This is looking at the live data, the live repository. So I can drill into any of these objects. Again, they are all live, and read all about it, inputs, outputs. So it truly becomes kind of a one-stop shop for all your metadata and their descriptions and documentation and relationships to the other metadata. So it's really the nexus of your entire data program, that being ER Studio Enterprise Edition. Let's also take a look here on ER Tools to kind of round out our glossary talk. Let's take a look at this trading submodel. You see over here, there's a button. It's called Harvest Terms. It's a feature built in to our web portal with the enterprise offering that allows you to use those metadata objects that are already in your data models as a basis to generate business terms. This helps you really, helps you come to speed quickly if you're starting out maybe a data governance initiative from scratch. You can create a glossary right here, maybe call it provisional, and just everything with a blue check mark here is going to get a term created in that glossary that you've highlighted above with this business term name and a definition. And you can see there's an ellipsis here. I could add a definition to it, those kinds of things. And the idea here is to really harvest those elements that you want terms for within your models and create a glossary very, very quickly. And the beauty about doing it this way is those term relationships between that term and that asset, that metadata asset within that project, that relationship will be maintained, and you'll be able to visually see it, as I showed you earlier, between the term relation employee and everything it had been related to in the data dictionary. All right, so I think another journey I wanted to show you here very, very quickly today is if I go back to our model here within ER Studio and the Team Server web portal. Again, I'm on that HR model. Let's look at this employee. And the other button I had here is I could open it up in Calibra. Let's try look that. I believe on the poll, a few of you said you're looking at or have Calibra, so I can go ahead and log into Calibra there. The interface, just like Purview, is a full bi-directional interface, and you can see here. Let me hit Control Plus so it's a little bit more readable for y'all, and you can see that in Calibra here, that employee entity is all synced up with what we have in ER Studio. So that's really just highlighting that the data dictionaries that are in both ER Studio in Calibra or ER Studio in Purview are all working through that interface and that and that it's keeping those elements in sync. All right. So at this point, I'd like to talk about or maybe answer any questions that may be out there, John. I don't see a lot of them.
We've had a few in. I've tried to type some answers back, but it might be good just to pick out a couple of them.
Okay.
There was one question around the terms, and you did start to cover that with the harvesting functionality, but people were asking, how do we get those terms, and then how do those relationships get defined? Are they automated? Do we need to do some manually? Maybe you could comment on that a little.
Sure. Let's talk about that. So there's, as I've said, there's a couple ways to get terms into ER Studio. So I mean, there's very there's 4 or 5 ways I could think of off the top of my head. One is you can create right from the web portal. I could create a new term here, hit new term, and so I don't have to have a license of data architect to create that term. And if I create this term, say I've created an employee, and we'll look that up. And so now I have that term created. I can actually then see my related ER objects here. And that's that graphical view. But how did that relation between this term and say that HR database project get created? And you see it's down to our 3 physical models and the logical model. You can see under the relation tab here where I can actually then find an object and relate it. So that's one way you could do it. Here's another way you could do it. If I go into Data Architect, go into our data model, on that training submodel there on the employee entity, if I double click it, you can see on it with our enterprise offering, we have a new tab called the glossary tab. And you can see that if I hit the add term button, because it's hard to see because it's reverse shaded blue, that this employee term in the human resources glossary has been related to this employee entity in this project. So that term could be created here in Data Architect. It could be related here in Data Architect, because you do want to capture that architect's or modeler's point of view, because they are the ones that are closest to this schema. So that's 2 ways you can bring it in. The third way you can bring those terms in and their relationships is straight from your data catalog. So in the case of my situation here in my demo area, I've set up to where Calibra is the master for the term properties and the term relationships. So to answer your question there, the interface itself is going to set up those terms, and they could be created either in ER Studio or in Calibra. In this case, I have Team Server set up as master. If you have Calibra, you probably set it up for the master for term properties and term relationships. So that's another way that those term relationships could come in. So we have, create the term, make the relationship. We have create the term in Data Architect, which will automatically relate it to the metadata object you're working with in Data Architect. We have the creation of the terms in your data catalog and maintaining of the relationship of that term to its metadata asset, and of course we have that in the other catalog applications and in linkage as well. Hopefully that answers your question. Anything else, John? Any other questions?
I think we covered most of this. Yeah, I think just a couple of questions around the sharing between things like Calibra and Purview. A few people just weren't quite sure that was 2-way. So again, I think we've addressed that, but if you could maybe just confirm that we can synchronize in both directions for the terms.
Absolutely. Either for Calibra, which I'm in the setup here for the Calibra integration within Team Server. So you have to have the web portal. You have to have the enterprise offering. So if you want to interface with your data catalog, either Purview or Calibra, you need to be with our enterprise edition. And if you're not at the enterprise edition and you really like to explore that, please contact your sales rep at sales@idera.com, and I'd love to set up a personalized demo for you for your particular needs. But to answer that question, you can see under my settings, we have a Purview setup, we have a Calibra setup, uh, very much the same in the way they function. We do have some white papers and some PDFs on this, but very quickly, I'll show you that we do have model publishing under, and I'll show you the Calibra side of it. And you can select which models within your ER Studio data dictionary really you want to have synced up with Calibra. It doesn't mean it's always one for one. So this is where you can see I've gone ahead and synced up this HR database we've been working with to a particular community in Calibra. We call it demo with a Calibra logical data dictionary. So with Calibra, it's a logical model to logical data dictionary, physical model to physical data dictionary, those kind of stuff. With Purview, and its integration, the integration sets up a meta model within Purview, and then we sync up with that. So the idea again is it's automatic. Well, it's a bidirectional interface that can be set up to sync up automatically. Let's put it that way. So if I go to the Calibra integration, save for Purview, you can see here I can have a synchronizational schedule set up, different frequencies, whatever you want in minutes, and you can also manually sync down. Just about 8 minutes left. If there's no other questions, we do have time for some, so please ask anything you might want to know about ER Studio Enterprise. You seeing anything else here? I'm trying to pull out this little applet. Anything else we haven't answered there, John?
There's one question there that just came in around when you create new terms, is there any specific workflow or notification? So I guess that's where we cross over into things like Purview and Calibra, but maybe you could say a few words on that.
Yeah, which particular question was I was trying to catch up on what you were reading there?
That's one from Deepa Katur towards the end, I think second last one.
Okay,
I'm just trying to answer a couple of the others that are a bit more specific that came in earlier as well.
All right. Annotation in the relationships is the one you're talking about there?
No, let me answer that one in that
go
case.
Ahead.
So
go ahead. I'm having trouble with the interface.
That's okay. It tends to jump around a bit, the scrolling.
It does, yeah.
The question tab. So this was a question related to kind of workflow and management of the creation of terms. Within ER Studio, we don't have workflow specifically. You can restrict some things with permissions. So that can dictate who can actually create new terms, who can edit terms, and so on. But what you can also do is set it up so that Purview or Calibra are the kind of the master environments for business terms. And they, of course, do have workflow engines with approval processes. So you may want to use something like Purview or Calibra to manage the workflow, manage the approval processes, and then synchronize those back into your studio once that's been kind of met on the side using those other tool sets. So hopefully that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Someone's also asked, I don't know if you want to cover this one. Someone's asked, is when we talked about data dictionary, is that the same as business terms?
So let's say we could talk about that. The overall ER Studio Data Dictionary. If I go back to my PowerPoint, What we look at in ER Studio as the data dictionary is really the collection of all your projects that have been added to your ER Studio repository and have been therefore part of it. Well, how should I say this? Not only have they been added to the repository, but their linkage and their usage has been the interconnected basis, which say the customer here in this particular project and the customer in this project, maybe they are both based on your ELDM customer. That linkage, that relationship, that interconnected, that mapping has been maintained too. So that's really what comprises the ER Studio Data Dictionary in how we view it. I hope that. Oh, and how it relates to terms. So terms are another set, right? They're a level of abstraction, really kind of a fundamental part of your data governance, and so those terms are not the data dictionary, but they are part of the overall data dictionary that ER Studio captures within the repository. Hopefully that answers your question there.
And actually, the question we always get is, will this session be recorded and be available for others who maybe joined late or couldn't make it? And the answer to that one is yes, it's been recorded, and the link will be shared with everyone who registered.
All right. I think that brings us to about the end. There was a question here. I know that the marketing literature said, hey, we're going to talk about our insights into Purview and Databricks. Databricks is still an imminent release for us, so I didn't build it into this particular webinar. We will have a lot of information coming to our customer base and to all of you that have registered here about our Databricks release. Great presentations, maybe a webinar on it as well. So be looking for that very, very, very soon, as I have in my big exploding star here. And just as a final note, yeah, if you do have, we do capture the questions you have. We'll try to follow up on those as best we can. And if you've seen something you'd like a personalized demo on today, we can look at your individual use cases and maybe help you see how our solution can really provide value to your business need. Please contact sales at Idera and set up a demo with us. I'd be more than happy to do that with you. So with that, I think we'll call it a wrap. Thank you very much, John, for your help in answering those questions, and thank you all very much for attending and answering those poll questions. It's been great. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.